We have lived in our house for 18 years. It was a new build when we bought it. We live in a quiet neighborhood in the foothills of North Carolina. Starting about in year 3 of living here, I would periodically see a black shadow go around the great room that has 15-foot ceilings at its peak at nights. I saw the shadow several times, but never mentioned it to anyone else in the family. The shadow also started in the same corner of the room and traveled around the perimeter of the walls ending in the kitchen. It wasn't a reflection of cars or anything else because the shadow did its thing if the blinds were open or closed and if the curtains were opened or drawn. We were having a family movie night several years ago, eating popcorn, laughing, and having a good night. My youngest son asked if we saw it as the shadow moved across the room as usual. He said he had seen the shadow many times and it scared him, which is why he stayed in his older brother's room a lot of nights. My oldest son chimed in that he sees it frequently. My wife added that she has seen it. I couldn't believe it. All 4 of us have seen the shadow, but not a single one of us mentioned it. I didn't say anything because no one would believe me. Same for my wife. It just became a regular sighting in our house. 2 to 3 nights per week, the shadow still makes its round in our great room. I've tried several times over the years to get a video of the shadow, but it knows what I'm doing because when I'm ready, it doesn't show itself. Now, it's just a regular thing that happens. We have had guests over before who saw it as well. There are no sounds, just the shadow making its trek around the room. When I was in my 20s, my husband and I were just starting out and needed to move in with a family member to save up some money for our own place. We moved in with my mother-in-law's boyfriend in his family home. It has been in his family since the 1800s and had many members of his family pass away in there. We were staying in one of the older rooms, way off the main part of the house. Our room was old Victorian style and was pretty cool, if you ask me. Well, I am a very light sleeper, and I kept getting the feeling that someone or something was watching me in my sleep. I would wake up and look around and see nothing but darkness. Until one night, I felt that feeling again of being watched. So, I sat up really quickly and about passed out when I seen a tall, slender woman standing in the corner of our room just staring at me. She had a dark dress on, with a brooch at the neckline of her dress and her hair in a bun at the top of her head. I yelled and shook my husband awake, but by the time he woke up and sat up, she was gone. He told me that I was crazy and to go back to bed. The next night, I couldn't sleep a wink and kept tossing and turning in bed. I was anxious and fearful and ready for anything. I rolled onto my stomach and threw my foot halfway off the bed, where it was just hanging there. All of a sudden, this great, strong force grabbed onto my foot and yanked me so hard, I about came entirely off the bed. I screamed as loud as I could, waking up my husband and his mom's boyfriend, and cried telling them what happened. My husband was skeptical, but his mom's boyfriend believed me and said he has seen the lady too, but just ignores her because she's harmless. Well, obviously not, and needless to say, we moved out that week and never went back. My girlfriend and I recently moved into a house together about 3 months ago. We have several roommates as we are in school and working. All of us are 19 to 22 years old. We got the basement room naturally as we were the last to move in. And like most basement rooms, the unfinished look gave way too creepy vibes. First thing first, the room is about 10 feet by 8-ish feet. And for some reason, has a stone fireplace on the far wall. This fireplace has been repainted over the years, and in the middle there is a shrine-like cutout with 2 mermaid statues mounted. I got a kick out of it. I've always liked eccentric things, but my opinion changed as I further explored the room. Upon moving in my stuff, I realized that the staircase had an obvious man-made cutout with a door that barely fit the opening. My roommate said that they never opened it, so naturally, I decided to see what was inside. I opened the door only to reveal a moldy pillow nested in dust. That was the only thing in the crawl space. It looked like it had been there for a long time for sure. I decided to cover up the door with my TV stand. Out of sight, out of mind. The days went by as we filled the room with our belongings, and after a while, we noticed writings on the wall. It was like childlike, unintelligible, and messy. We noticed numbers counting 1 through 8 beside our bed on the wall, right where we lay our heads. It kind of freaked us out, but we had heard that the family before had like 7 children living here. Here's the thing about the family. We had been told that they were new to the country, and they naturally held different cultural beliefs. They had used our sunroom to skin and prepare squirrels, only thing as far as we know, which seemed weird, considering we live in such a populated area filled with grocery stores and markets. We didn't think anything of it until my girlfriend was laying down at night and heard and felt someone almost scream in the form of a whisper, "Michael." Obviously freaked, we discussed it and couldn't connect it back to anything. Since then, the activity has calmed down until we mentioned it to our roommates at dinner one night. This is when things got incredibly weird. One of our roommates got visibly uncomfortable and asked us not to fuck around about this, and we told him we weren't. He continued to tell us that he had been almost followed by an entity for his entire life who was believed to be named Michael. He said that it was a name that he had noticed written in random places in his previous childhood home. Now we were convinced he had brought something into the house or added to something that was already there. This roommate was with our other roommate, and since they have broken up leading up to the breakup, the whole house was very negative. Tensions were high, and he eventually moved out. Upon leaving, the activity has spiked significantly. The cat and dog have been acting strange, barely eating, whining constantly, barking at nothing. Following all this, I heard a scratching noise coming from our closet area that persisted for about an hour. It didn't sound like anything in the walls, but like someone lightly scraping the surface of the wall in long, drawn-out scratches. Just last night, in fact, I had woken up to hearing someone walking around in our studio. It was like a lumbering, heavy-footed, almost stumbling walk. It became real when I heard it brush up against a desk or whatever it brushed up against, like it was a literal physical object. I was paralyzed with fear when I saw a glow illuminate my studio equipment and saw the glow create shadows along the wall. I can't remember if I fell asleep as if it was happening or if when it ended I fell asleep, but either way, I'm convinced that something is in my house. My girlfriend and I decided to do some web surfing about this kind of activity when discussing our findings. The hallway outside our door was filled with rustling and sounds of movement that gradually ended with a bursting sound against the door. I can't tell you if it's a positive or negative energy, but all I know is that it is not human. Any feedback is welcome and encouraged, and so are any solutions. Me and my friend were trying to prank call Walmart, and we searched up Walmart and called the one in North Dakota. It was a 701 number, but then we saw another number that was also to another Walmart in North Dakota, but it was an 801 number. We thought that was odd, but when we called it, we heard random numbers and then screaming in the mic. This really freaked us out, so we tried calling another Walmart in Massachusetts, and we got a recording repeating these numbers: 01010 10010. I don't know what this says, but all we thought was that it was really creepy, and we ended up not prank calling anyone that day.